Welcome everyone! In this video, we'll follow the journey of a young man as he sets out to build a house entirely from natural materials found in the forest. Watch as he carefully plans, designs, and builds his very own forest retreat. See how his vision becomes a reality. And don't forget to watch until the end to see the results. He started by drawing a large circle on the ground. This circle would be the base of the house. Once the outline is done, he begins digging holes along the edge of the circle. These holes are spaced out evenly and will be used to place wooden poles. The poles will act as the main supports for the house frame. He heads into the forest with an axe and saw, searching for trees that are the right size and strength for building. After choosing the ones that fit his needs, he carefully cuts them down and saws them into manageable lengths. One by one, he carries the heavy logs back to the construction site, using only his own strength. Once all the logs are gathered, he begins stripping off the bark from each one. This step is important. Removing the outer layer not only makes the wood look cleaner, but also helps protect it from insects and rot. Next, he builds a small campfire near the worksite. Once the fire is burning steadily, he takes each wooden pole and places one end into the flames. This is the end that will later be buried in the ground. It's an old but effective method used in traditional building. He carefully rotates each pole over the fire, making sure the entire bottom section is evenly burned without weakening the wood. One by one, he places each wooden pole into the holes he dug earlier, pressing them firmly into the soil and packing dirt around the base to keep them steady. He checks to make sure they're upright and evenly spaced, forming a circular shape that matches the outline he drew before. At the front of the circle, he installs two special poles at the entrance. These entrance poles are taller than the others, marking where the doorway will be. He begins cutting the logs into smaller wooden beams to create horizontal support bars. These pieces will be used to connect the vertical poles together, adding strength and stability to the structure. While working, he also realized that he needed a suitable tool to support the upcoming construction steps. So he set out to create a simple but sturdy hand hammer. With the vertical posts firmly in place, he moves on to the next step, connecting the tops of the poles. He starts linking the tops of each post with the horizontal beams he prepared earlier. To make sure the structure is strong and secure, he carefully shapes simple wooden joints at the connection points. Once the joints are in place, he uses a hand drill to create holes through the beams and the tops of the posts. Then, he inserts strong wooden pegs through the holes, locking the pieces tightly together. This method gives the entire frame more stability without the need for nails or metal tools. Bit by bit, the circular frame begins to take shape, held together by careful craftsmanship and natural materials. At the front of the structure, he turns his attention to the two taller posts that mark the entrance. To complete the doorway, he connects these two vertical poles with a horizontal beam placed across the top. This forms a simple but sturdy door frame. For the roof, he decides on a conical design, with all the beams coming together at a single high point in the center. This shape will help rainwater run off easily and provide good shelter in the forest environment. He gathers long, sturdy wooden poles that will form the roof's ribs. Each of these poles will stretch from the top center point down to the tops of the wall posts. To secure the structure, he drilled small holes at the top of each roof beam. At the peak of the roof, he carefully threaded rope or strong natural vines through the holes, tying the beams together so that they all met at the peak. The result is a stable cone-shaped roof frame that sits evenly on the structure, with all beams firmly fastened at the peak and well supported along the edges. He heads out with a shovel and begins collecting soil from a nearby area, choosing earth that's dense and rich, ideal for building. After gathering enough, he brings it back to the site and pours it into a large mixing area on the ground. Then he adds water gradually, using his hands and feet to mix everything together. He carefully blends the soil and water until it forms a thicky mixture with the right consistency, not too dry and not too runny. This natural mixture will serve as a binding material, useful for coating walls, sealing gaps, or shaping parts of the structure. Inside the shelter, he begins building a small stove for cooking and warmth. He gathers medium-sized stones from around the forest and brings them back to the site. Carefully, he stacks the stones to form the shape of a basic fireplace, arranging them in a way that allows airflow and space for burning wood. To make the structure more solid, he uses the mud mixture he prepared earlier as a natural adhesive. He applies the mud between each layer of stones, pressing it in firmly to hold them together and seal any gaps. Once finished, it becomes a key feature of the home, allowing him to cook meals and stay warm during cold nights in the forest. After building the stone stove, he prepared to test it by lighting a fire. As the fire started, he watched carefully to see how well the smoke moved. The goal was to make sure the smoke was drawn up and out of the shelter, rather than flowing inside. For the walls of the shelter, he also uses stones as the main building material. Carefully, he begins stacking the stones along the base of the wall frame, section by section. He places each stone by hand, adjusting their positions to make sure they align properly and sit firmly on top of one another. Precision is important. He checks that each layer is straight and stable before adding the next. To bind the stones together and fill in the gaps, he uses the same mud mixture he prepared earlier. He spreads the mud between the stones like mortar, pressing it in to hold everything in place. From one section of the wall to the next, he continues building steadily, repeating the same careful process. After completing one wall, he moves on to the next, selecting and stacking stones with the same attention to alignment and stability. Each wall is constructed layer by layer, with stones placed tightly together and mud used as a binder between them. He makes sure every section is secure before continuing, taking his time to ensure that the structure will be strong and long-lasting. Little by little, the house begins to take shape. With every finished wall, the shelter becomes more enclosed and protected. While he continued to build the walls, he also took the time to build simple window frames. Using straight pieces of wood, he measured and cut each piece to size, then joined them together to form square frames. These frames would then hold gaps in the stone walls to allow light and air into the shelter. Instead of stacking stones all the way through, he carefully fits the wooden window frames into place, building the stone walls around them. He uses mud to help seal the edges and keep the frame steady. These windows not only improve ventilation and lighting, but also make the structure feel more open and livable. Step by step, the shelter is becoming more than just a structure. It's turning into a real home. Some of the roof beams extend too far beyond the walls, so he picks up his saw and begins trimming them. One by one, he cuts off the excess ends of the wooden beams, making sure they're all aligned and clean. To cover the roof, he begins attaching wooden slats, placing them one by one from the bottom edge upward toward the peak. These slats are flexible enough to follow the curved, cone-shaped structure of the roof. He tied each timber to the main roof beam with natural rope, ensuring they were securely fastened. Working around the roof, he continued to stack the timbers in a spiral pattern, adjusting their position to match the slope and shape of the structure. After finishing the wooden covering on the roof, he adds an extra layer of protection. He takes out a large sheet of nylon and carefully spreads it over the entire roof surface. This waterproof layer will help keep the interior dry, especially during heavy rain. He pulled the plastic sheeting tight over the roof, making sure it was in a cone shape and covered all the exposed areas. He then secured it in place. To add a layer of protection and finish, he brought out some large wooden mats. These mats are flexible yet sturdy, making them perfect for covering curved surfaces like conical roofs. He places each mat carefully over the top of the existing layers, starting from the bottom and working his way up to the peak. The mats are overlapped slightly to help rainwater slide off easily, creating a smooth and continuous surface. To finish off the top of the roof, he builds a small mini roof structure to sit at the very peak. This additional piece serves both a functional and decorative purpose, helping to protect the roof's center point from direct rain. He carefully constructs a small cone-shaped cover using short wooden beams and natural materials, following the same design principles as the main roof. Once assembled, he lifts it and places it right over the central joint where all the main roof beams meet. He secured it firmly in place with rope, ensuring it was stable and wouldn't move in the wind. With this final detail added, the entire roof was now complete sealed, ventilated, and beautifully finished from top to bottom. Inside the shelter, he begins preparing to build a wooden bed. First, he gathered some thick wooden planks that would form the bed frame. He sawed the planks into equal pieces to make the legs of the bed. He then carved the ends of the planks into sharp points. These sharp points would allow him to anchor the planks directly to the ground, making the legs of the bed stable and secure. One by one, he drives the pointed ends into the earth at the four corners of where the bed will be placed, checking the alignment and spacing as he goes. After securing the wooden legs into the ground, he begins connecting the frame. He takes several long wooden beams and attaches them horizontally between the legs, forming a sturdy rectangular structure. Each piece is tied or fixed firmly in place to make sure the frame is stable and can support weight. Once the frame is complete, he fills the inside with a layer of loose soil and dry leaves. To finish, he placed and tied wooden slats across the top of the frame, placing them side by side to form a flat surface. These top slats hold everything in place and form the sleeping platform. The result is a simple, durable wooden bed raised off the ground. To make the space more functional, he decides to build a simple wooden table. He starts by selecting 4 sturdy wooden poles for the legs. Just like with the bed, he sharpens the ends of the poles and drives them into the ground to anchor them securely. This keeps the table steady and prevents it from moving while in use. He prepared some flat pieces of wood for the tabletop. He placed them side by side on the table legs and tied them together with rope. Each joint was pulled tight to ensure that the surface was stable and would not move. To improve the comfort and cleanliness of the living space, he decides to build a proper floor inside the shelter. He begins by cutting logs into small, round wooden slices, like thick wooden tiles. Each piece is carefully sawed to be as flat and even as possible, making them suitable for walking and sitting on. Once he has enough wooden rounds prepared, he starts laying them out on the ground inside the house. He arranges them side by side, placing each one tightly next to the others to create a level, solid surface. He made a sturdy wooden chair to put inside the house. First, he cut thick pieces of wood to make the legs and backrest. He connected the wooden chair and backrest, tying them together with rope to keep everything safe and stable. He checks the structure carefully, reinforcing any weak points and making sure it's strong enough to hold weight. The finished chair is simple but solid, a comfortable place to rest after long hours of building, and a personal touch that makes the shelter feel more like home. He begins making a front door for the house by cutting several wooden planks to the same length. Then he lays them side by side and ties them together using strong rope, adding a few cross supports on the back to keep the structure firm. Once the door is complete, he brings it to the entrance and carefully fits it into the doorway frame he built earlier. Using rope, he attaches one side of the door to the frame, allowing it to swing open and close properly. The door fits well and helps seal the entrance, giving the house better protection and privacy. He also made 2 windows, one on each side of the house. Using smaller pieces of wood, he tied the boards together with a base underneath to anchor the wood. Once finished, he attaches each window panel to the wooden frames that were built into the walls earlier. He secures them so they can open and close when needed. These windows help bring in fresh air and natural light, making the inside of the house more comfortable. And just like that, his house is complete. Built entirely by hand using natural materials from the forest, it now stands solid and ready to be lived in. To end the day, he prepares a simple meal inside his new home. He cooks a bit of food over the flames, using basic tools and ingredients he has on hand. His journey is also ended. Thank you for accompanying him on this journey. If you like, don't forget to leave a like and a subscription so you don't miss the next videos. Goodbye and see you again.